Michael Evans had never imagined that his life would come to this. A cold, lifeless cell in a maximum security detention center. His freedom stripped away by an immigration issue that felt as though it had come from nowhere. Born and raised in the United States, Michael had always felt like an outsider in a country that had promised him so much. His dreams of prosperity and success had been shattered by one bureaucratic error, an expired visa he hadn't even known about. The guards didn't care for his story. In their eyes, he was just another statistic, another man of color trapped by a system that often forgot the most vulnerable. His cell, with its dingy walls and dim lighting, felt like a metaphor for his life. Trapped in a cage, uncertain of when or how he'd get out. Days turned into weeks, and Michael's once strong, optimistic spirit began to wane. He became just another face in a crowd of men who had all been forgotten. The loneliness gnawed at him as he spent his days pacing the tiny cell, imagining the world outside, the life he had left behind. He was no criminal, but in this place, he was treated like one. The prison was filled with men from all walks of life, many of them wrongfully detained like him, many of them trying to survive in a system that didn't care if they lived or died. Yet Michael fought to hold on. He had no family on the outside, no one who could visit or offer him any hope. All he had was his own willpower to survive, to push back against the hopelessness that seeped into his bones. The first few months were the hardest. The guards, indifferent to his plight, made his life even more unbearable. He'd wake up every day to the sound of metal doors slamming, knowing that he was trapped in a world where he no longer belonged. He fought back tears in the solitude of his cell, wondering if this would be his life forever. He made a few friends along the way, fellow detainees who were also facing the same nightmare. There was Marcus, a man from Jamaica who had been in the detention center for over a year, his case dragging on without resolution. And then there was Tom, a quiet man from the Philippines who rarely spoke, but had a presence that made people respect him. Each day was a fight for survival, fighting to stay sane, to stay strong. Michael did what he could to maintain his dignity. He exercised in the small space, reading whatever books he could get his hands on, keeping his mind sharp. But it wasn't just the physical struggle, it was the emotional toll that drained him. One night, as Michael lay on his thin mattress, staring up at the ceiling, he heard something that broke the monotony, the sound of high heels echoing down the hall. It was rare for any woman to visit the prison, especially a woman dressed in the professional garb of a judge. He didn't know it yet, but this woman would change his life forever. Judge Sophia Reed was a woman of power and influence. At 38, she had already made a name for herself in the legal world. Known for her fair yet firm judgments, her determination to right wrongs, and her unwavering commitment to justice, she was often seen as a beacon of hope in a world that could feel dark and unjust. Her visit to the detention center was part of a program to review cases that had been languishing in the system. As a judge, she had seen her fair share of injustice. But as she walked through the sterile hallways of the prison, she was about to witness something that would strike a chord deep within her. Michael was standing in line with a group of other detainees when he first saw her. Her commanding presence caught his attention immediately. Her eyes, sharp and determined, scanned the room with an air of authority. But there was something more, a compassion beneath the surface, a curiosity that made her stand out among the other professionals who visited. When their eyes met, something strange happened. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Sophia looked at him, and for reasons she couldn't explain, she felt a deep sense of connection. Michael didn't know it then, but she felt his pain. She could see the exhaustion on his face, the hopelessness in his eyes. She had seen countless men and women like him, caught in a system that didn't care. But this one, Michael Evans, he stood out to her. His silent defiance spoke volumes. The guards led the detainees into a room where Sophia was conducting her review. When it was Michael's turn, she didn't just glance at his file. She studied it. She read his entire case, his history, and his legal standing. There was no reason for Michael to be in this prison. The errors in his case were undeniable. Yet he was still here, suffering in silence. Sophia's heart softened. There was something about his quiet dignity, his resilience, that moved her. She knew the system could be unforgiving, but this felt different. This felt wrong. After the review, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that she had to do something. She had the power to help him, to pull him out of this nightmare. But as much as she wanted to, there were rules, procedures, and layers of bureaucracy that made everything more complicated. Her office had the ability to expedite cases, to push for changes. But it wasn't always easy, especially when dealing with something as complex as immigration. But she couldn't just walk away from Michael, not after what she had seen. So, she decided to take action. Sophia used her position to fast-track Michael's case. It wasn't easy and it wasn't fast, but she moved mountains behind the scenes. She pushed through the paperwork, contacted the right people, and made sure that Michael's case was reviewed with urgency. It took weeks, but finally, the decision came down. Michael would be released. When Sophia visited Michael to tell him the news, his reaction was one of disbelief. He couldn't understand it at first. For so long, he had been abandoned, forgotten. To hear that someone was actually going to help him, that someone cared, was almost too much to bear. His eyes welled with tears as he stood up to face her. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Sophia smiled. But there was something deeper in her heart. Something that had begun to grow since that first day they had locked eyes. There was an undeniable pull between them, a bond forged in the fires of hardship and shared humanity. She had helped him escape this nightmare, but in truth, he had helped her, too. He had reminded her why she became a judge in the first place. To make a difference, to fight for the voiceless. Michael's release from prison was only the beginning. As time passed, Sophia and Michael kept in touch. Their professional relationship slowly evolved into something more. They met for coffee, then dinner, talking about their lives, their dreams, their fears. Michael was trying to rebuild his life, trying to find work and make up for lost time. But Sophia was there for him every step of the way. And then one night, after months of friendship and support, Sophia realized that her feelings for Michael had deepened. What had begun as professional respect had turned into something more, something she hadn't expected, but something that felt right. Michael, too, had felt it. He had never expected to find love in the midst of his suffering. But Sophia was different. She had seen him, really seen him, and for the first time in his life, he felt like he mattered. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, a karmic twist turned their world upside down. Sophia's colleagues found out about her growing relationship with Michael. It wasn't illegal, but it was frowned upon. They questioned her judgment, her professionalism. Some even suggested that she had let her emotions cloud her decision-making. Sophia was faced with a choice: her career or her love for Michael. Sophia stood at a crossroads. She loved her job, her career. But Michael had become more than just a man she had helped. He had become her partner, her equal, someone who made her feel alive in ways she never expected. In the end, Sophia chose love. She resigned from her position as a judge, knowing that she could not live with herself if she had to choose between the man she loved and the career she had built. And so, Michael and Sophia built a life together, a life forged through struggle, survival, and ultimately, love.